Your business can be wildly successful on paper and still be quietly wrecking your profit, your time, and your mental health. If you're serious about building a freedom empire in 2026, this episode gives you the audit you can't skip. Hi there! I want to tell you about a client who was making $180K per launch every time she launched, 3 times a year. That's $540,000 annually from one course. She had it all figured out, and her marketing was fabulous. She had consistent launches, predictable revenue, a real system that worked. Until she called me and she asked, look, help me understand again how you guys, we have to keep paying you, but our launches aren't getting bigger than 180K. So how do we justify the fees when the revenue isn't growing anymore? This is a classic, you know what I say, you can't scale to the sky problem, right? So I explained something that made her uncomfortable. We were not a variable cost that you can cut to increase profit. Ad spend is, but we were not. My agency fees is not a variable cost. We were a fixed cost. And having that fixed cost in her business enables her to have those 180K launches so that it all happens. And months went by. You know, once we have that conversation, you can't really put the genie back in the bottle, right? So she didn't really want to hear what I had to say, and she wanted the launches to just scale to the sky. But we'd already scaled it, and it got to 180K 3 times a year, which was great. She needed to add other things to her business model, so she didn't want to hear us. So a few months later, I wasn't surprised when she decided to cut us anyway. It always hurts. I hate it, but it's part of life. And within 6 months, I could see that her launches were dropping, and I could see that the ads weren't as great as they used to be. The volume wasn't as great. And the last thing I heard, she was scrambling to find someone to help her evergreen what was left of that funnel. So she made a classic mistake. She looked at revenue and decided to cut costs without understanding what that cost enabled in her business. And she tanked that funnel. Luckily, she had another side of her business that was doing well, but she tanked that entire funnel. And unfortunately, I see this from time to time. Course creators make decisions based on incomplete pictures, incomplete data. They look at revenue, but not at profit. They cut costs without understanding which costs enable revenue. They keep offers that bleed them dry because they love working with those students and cut things that actually work. And in today's episode, you're going to discover the 3-part audit system I wish that every client had, every student has. We're looking at profitability because revenue means nothing if you're bleeding cash. And we'll audit your revenue and your profit for scalability because growth that is going to break you isn't growth at all. And we'll audit for joy because what is the point of profit of a scalable business if it's making you miserable? And this is the 5th episode in our 12-part series called Building Your Freedom Empire, Business and Mindset Strategies for 2026, which is setting you up really to have a freedom empire in 2026. And this audit is where everything we've been building towards starts to come together. And we're heading into the final weeks of 2025. Black Friday is right around the corner. We talked about it last week. Holiday craziness is about to hit, and 2026 planning is staring you in the face. You should be doing that now. Buble is on full blast in my house, and the Christmas tree is going up this week. And that's where we're at. Every single year during this time, I see the same pattern. People either get like completely swept up in Black Friday, trying to scramble without a clear strategy, or they procrastinate on their year-end review and leave that until January when they're really already behind. But the market right now is different and it is changing rapidly. Your business is more complex than it was a year ago, whether you want to admit it or not. Multiple offers, multiple traffic sources, maybe a team, definitely more software subscriptions than you remember signing up for, especially every time some new AI thing promises to make your life easier and ends up in a folder where you never figure out how to really use it well. Am I right? Mm-hmm. And if you're looking at total revenue as a way to measure your success this year, you're missing the story your business is trying to tell you. I learned this the hard way. In 2021, I was making really good money on paper. I was checking all the boxes. 18 agency clients, all paying well. My revenue looked great. And I was also having panic attacks and started taking anti-anxiety medication. And I was the bottleneck in every client relationship because I thought that I had to personally be involved in everything. My revenue audit said 5 stars, success, amazing. My joy audit said, stop this now, this is unsustainable. And it took me 3 years to really recover from that. So when I tell you to audit for more than just profit, I'm not being soft. I'm really, really, really saying, build your business for sustainability. I'm trying to save you from what I went through. Because you can hit your revenue goals and still be falling apart. You can build that business like what your mentor has and be absolutely miserable. The audit I'm walking you through today will show you the whole picture. Not just what made money, but what's actually sustainable, scalable, and aligned with the freedom empire you're trying to build. You still have 6 weeks left in 2025. Time to identify changes to make so that when you hit the road running in January, you've already cut the dead weight. You've optimized what's working and you've made strategic decisions based on actual data, not just hope and hustle. So let's begin by talking about the profitability audit. Let's start with profitability. You can't build a sustainable business if you're not making money. Most people look at total revenue and subtract total expenses, and they call that profit. And yes, you're technically correct. But that's just the bean counter version. As marketers, we need to know where the profit comes from. You need to understand the revenue and profit at an offer level, not just at a business level. For every offer, calculate the true profit after ads, after you've paid for your team, after your software and your contractors. And ask yourself, are there certain things you pay for that relate to just one offer? For me, it's the agency. I pay 2 team members and several software systems that only exists for that one offer. The agency is high ticket though, so I'm okay with those costs. But I wasn't okay when I had 7 people doing work that 2 people could do with some smart simplifications right now. Sometimes your profit problem isn't that you're not making enough money, is that you're spending too much to make the money you're making. I can use my agency resources to run ads for my course offers for free. That saves the courses side of the business a lot of money. But those same resources come with fixed costs. So the agency isn't always insanely profitable on its own. But having it means I have other offers that are more scalable and profitable if I maintain what I have in the agency because of the agency. The membership I closed earlier this year was costing me more to run than what it made. I knew I had to completely overhaul it or cut it. Closing it down wasn't fun, but the relief I felt after was immense. Now, while you're looking at those costs, you also need to understand the difference between fixed costs and variable costs. Fixed costs you pay regardless of sales: email software, website hosting, core team members. Variable costs scale with sales: payment processing fees, ad spend. That client I mentioned, she was making $180K per launch 3 times a year. Our agency fee was a fixed cost that enabled those launches. And when her revenue plateaued, she started looking at us as an expense to cut rather than an investment that allows her to make that money. I explained, we're not a variable cost you can trim. We're a fixed cost that allows you to make $180K per launch. Without us, you don't have a launch that generates $180K. And she cut us anyway. Not all costs are created equal. Some costs enable revenue. Some costs are just costs. So once you've got that straight, the next thing you want to look at is which offers actually have the highest profit margins. Those low dollar offers you promote occasionally, are they really making you a profit? Or would you make a larger profit selling a mid-tier course? Or if you ran ads to that low dollar offer and they broke even, would that enable you to sell even more of your larger course? What if that $47 offer isn't meant to be profitable on its own? What if it's meant to get paying customers into your list who's going to convert to your $997 offer at higher rates than freebie seekers? You see, there's nuance. Most people look at each offer in isolation, but never ask, is this offer making my other offers more profitable? And while you're auditing all this stuff, don't forget about those sneaky little subscriptions draining your bank account every single month. I audited mine last quarter and found $400 a month in software I wasn't using. That's almost $5,000 a year. Okay, so if you're running ads, we need to talk about what your actual ad spend is returning in closed sales. Not what your ads manager says, because that's unreliable. Real, closed, cash in the bank sales traced back to paid traffic. Are you tracking paid leads separately from organic? Please tell me you have separate landing pages for paid traffic so you can tag those leads in your CRM. Because without that, you have no idea if your ads are working or if your organic content is doing all the heavy lifting. Which lead magnets converted to buyers versus freebie seekers? That's the metric that matters. Not how cheap your leads are, but how many leads bought. All right, so now let's look at your whole offer suite and see what's actually carrying your business. Pull up your revenue by offer for 2025. All of it. Which offers carried your business? The 80-20 rule is real. 20% of your offers probably made 80% of your revenue. So why are you spending equal energy on all offers? Look for the dead weight. Offers that cost more than what they made. Look for your price point sweet spots. That's the information you need for 2026. So that's profitability. And you now know how to look at numbers on the offer level. You understand how to look at your fixed versus variable costs. You've identified your highest margin offers, and you can track real return on ad spend. But making money and being able to grow that money are two different things. And you know this is episode 5 of our 12-part series, and we've covered burnout prevention, bad business advice that turned valuable, and one more launch could be keeping you stuck. On Thursday, we're diving into the permission slip you've been waiting for, because sometimes the hardest part isn't knowing what to do. It's actually just giving yourself permission to do it. So speaking of getting it done, let's move on to the next part of this audit, and let's talk about scalability. what can actually grow in your business without breaking your business or you. This is the scalability audit. So, the first thing we need to figure out is where you might be the bottleneck in your own business growth. I've already told you in 2021, my 18 clients, and I was really trying to have a deep personal connection with all of them, helping each one with their marketing strategy, their webinars, their sales, their mindset, everything, and then their ads as well. I was the bottleneck. I was the ceiling. The agency couldn't grow past 18 clients because it relied too much on me. If I can't deliver this offer without being personally involved in every piece, then this offer cannot scale. Which of your offers require your direct involvement? And listen, I might just give you the permission you need here. People love other people who are trained in your methodology too. They'll never be you, but other people can bring flavor that you don't have, and that's a good thing. So when you build your courses, build your methodology so you can bring in other people to help your students so you don't have to be the bottleneck. And then you might find that you can finally take that holiday that you've been dreaming about. So after you've figured out where you're the bottleneck, ask yourself if you could actually deliver this offer at double or triple the volume you have right now. If you doubled your sales tomorrow, what would break first? Is it customer service? Is it sales? Maybe content creation? I'll tell you what's breaking for me right now is social media. I'm willing to admit that. I've been focusing on building scale with ads with our new students, and as a result, my social media is suffering because I cannot create course content and handle all the socials and give you guys podcast episodes and be a healthy and happy human. Luckily, social media isn't a critical channel for me because I have list building ads running constantly. But if this show was suffering, I'd be in trouble. This show is a critical channel for me. You guys, you listening, you're important to me. So I would rather drop the 7-second reels where I'm trying to really hard to be funny and come here and serve you. So you need to know, what are your critical channels that if you did scale and something fell on the floor, would it break your business? Or is it just like maybe I have to confess, I have to get back to that sort of situation? What can you pause for a season? And what absolutely cannot? And when you start thinking about all this scaling stuff, your brain's probably going to try to overcomplicate everything. If you've just been in my call with the Scale with Ad students, we talked about this at length, how we try to overcomplicate things. My brain does this all the time. Even my psychologist gives me a hard time about that. So I have to ask myself constantly, how can this be easy? When you feel yourself working harder instead of smarter, stop and ask that question. The difference between working harder and smarter is the difference between burning out at 200K and scaling to 7 figures without losing your mind. And speaking of making things easier, let's talk about that tech stack again, because it's the thorn in my side. If you want to scale, simplify your tech stack. You probably have too much software and not enough automation where it matters. About 6 months ago, I booked a little office near the river here in Brisbane, and I spent 2 days in that office surrounded by financial advisors and all sorts of interesting people who work spaces, building custom GPTs for this podcast. It took me a full day, and I had to ask ChatGPT how to do it every step of the way. But you know what? Once it was built, it started saving me hours every single month. And I promise you, it's the only way I can get out 2 episodes to you guys in a week. You can literally ask ChatGPT, what tasks am I doing repeatedly that you could help me systematize? And then ask it to help you build some custom GPTs. You don't need another course. You just need 2 full days allocated to simplifying and automating. All right, one more thing about scalability. How warm is your email list actually? Engagement rates don't lie. Well, we've talked about focusing on the right numbers, but look at your engagement ads. If you're not getting opens and you're not getting clicks, you don't have a warm list. You have a cold database of email addresses. So look at your email list and see if you can segment it. Which lead magnets are converting the best? If one brings in buyers and the other lead magnet brings in freebie seekers, you need to know that. So put more budget behind the one that's bringing in buyers so you can scale that. So now we've spoken about what's profitable and we've spoken about what's scalable, but there's one more audit that most people skip. And it's the one that determines whether you'll still be in business 10 years from now. Because you can have all the profitability and all the scalability in the world. But if you're miserable, you'll quit. Or worse, you'll keep going until your body and your mental health makes you quit. So let's talk about the joy audit. And this is the part that a lot of people skip. They audit the profitability, maybe they think about scalability, but they skip the joy audit. Don't skip the joy audit and don't put it off until you think you've arrived, because that never happens. So first, think about which offers and activities actually energize you this year versus the one that absolutely depleted you. What revenue cost you your mental health? You know those panic attacks I had in 2021? That revenue, it wasn't worth it. Those 18 paying clients that I was trying to take care of, I don't think they would have missed me if I just had someone else take care of them. It's not worth it. The 3-year recovery period that followed was definitely not worth it. I talk about the 60% rule all of the time. If you're running your business at 100% capacity, you have no room for growth. You have no room for opportunities, and you have no room for life to get in the way. So run your business at 60% of your capacity, not 100%. You're one unexpected event away from everything falling apart if you're running it at 100% capacity. And then you need to ask yourself a really hard question. Did you build a business? Or did you buy yourself a stressful job where you're the boss? So, which revenue stream gave you actual time freedom versus which ones chained you to your desk? The launches that worked but nearly broke you? Are you really going to do those again in 2026? Because sometimes the most profitable decision is to cut revenue, to eliminate an offer that's making money but costing you your sanity. So now think long-term for a second. What needs to change for you to still be doing this 10 years from now? If the way you're running your business now is unsustainable long-term, you're not building a freedom empire. You're building a house of cards that will eventually collapse. Your non-negotiables for 2026, what are they? For me, continuing the 60% capacity rule. not being the bottleneck in every offer, having systems that work without me. What are yours? Okay. Now we've done all 3 audits, the profit audit, the scalability audit, and the joy audit. And this is where you make the decisions that'll shape your 2026. I call this the triple win sweet spot. You're looking for offers that hit all 3. Profitable, makes money after all your costs. It's scalable, it can grow without breaking you. And it's joyful, it energizes you, it aligns with your values. When an offer hits all 3, that's your triple win. That's where you double down in 2026. For me, next year, that's scale with ads. It's profitable, it's scalable, and man, it's joyful at the moment. I'm loving it. And that's what I'm going to be scaling, growing and iterating and optimizing and scaling aggressively. So if you're in this audience and you're curious about it, you just stay tuned. But what about offers that only hit 1 or 2 criteria? If you've got something that's profitable and scalable, but it's not joyful, you need a transition plan. That membership I closed this year, it was potentially scalable. It could have been profitable. It was profitable before, but I just wasn't getting any joy out of it anymore. It was making me miserable. So you have 2 choices. Completely redesign how you deliver it to become joyful, or create an exit plan. You cannot keep doing something that's making you miserable just because it's making you money. That's not a freedom empire. That's a well-paying prison. Now, what if you've got something that's profitable and joyful, but not scalable? That one needs to be redesigned. My agency in 2021 was this. I loved the work, highly profitable or highly revenue driven, but I was the bottleneck. I had to redesign. Simplify the delivery model, train the team members, create the systems that worked without me. If you have offers here, ask yourself, what would need to change for this to scale? Don't abandon it. Redesign it. Okay, this next one hurts. If you've got something that's scalable and joyful, but it's not profitable, we call that a hobby. If you love it, it can grow, but it's not making money, it's not a business. And there's nothing wrong with having hobbies. But stop dreaming of it paying the bills. Maybe you turn it into a lead magnet for something that is profitable. But don't pour your business resources into something that doesn't make business sense. It can make hobby sense all day long. But if it doesn't make business sense, it's not for you, for the business. And if an offer only hits one of these 3, just cut it completely. So based on all this, here's what you're going to do. Eliminate immediately offers that only hit 1 criteria. Optimize offers that hit 2 out of the 3 and figure out what's missing. And then scale aggressively your triple win offers. But test it carefully. New ideas that could be triple wins, like pilot them small. Start with your warm audiences and work your way out to colder audiences. And listen, I know cutting revenue sources feels scary, but sometimes cutting revenue sources actually increases profit because you stop bleeding resources. And when your joy goes up, your profit always follows. And your audience will respect you for it. When you communicate changes from I'm building something more sustainable, they get it. You're building a freedom empire, and that requires the courage to cut what's not serving that vision, even if it's making money right now. You remember that client from the beginning, the one making $180K per launch who cut our agency? Here's what her audit would have revealed. Profitability. Our agency fee was about 8% of her launch revenue. Really good profit margin. but she only looked at the cost, not at the return. Scalability. Her launches were scalable to a point with our ads. But without our ads and our help, it became completely unscalable. And in a weird way, she created a bottleneck in her business. And Joy, she loved the launching and the teaching, but she didn't love having her team manage ads. And that's why she hired us in the first place. If she had done this 3-part audit, she would have seen that our agency fee was actually enabling a triple win offer. Instead, she cut the fixed cost that enabled revenue and her launches dropped. She maybe saved, $20,000 or $50,000 a year, but she lost over $250,000 in revenue. I want you to make smart decisions. Do the audit. Make decisions based on all 3 factors: profitability, scalability, and joy. Listen, you have 6 weeks left until 2026. 6 weeks to make this audit count. You can head into Black Friday with a clear strategy based on what actually works in your business and have yourself set up for 2026 with confidence because you know where your profit comes from, what can scale, and what's sustainable. Or you can skip this audit and wing it through the holidays and hope 2026 is magically better. But hope isn't a strategy. Data is. Self-awareness is. And honesty with yourself is. Strategic decision-making is. So block those 3 hours this week. Pull your numbers and be brutally honest. And then this Thursday, if this audit reveals some uncomfortable truths for you, I'm going to give you the permission slip you've been waiting for. So tune in on Thursday. Because sometimes we know exactly what we need to do. We just need someone to tell us it's okay to do it. You've got this. Your freedom empire is waiting, and now go pull those numbers, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye. Before you go, if today's episode helped you, imagine how many more lives could be transformed if other creators, coaches, and experts found these strategies too. Your shares and reviews help more course creators discover how to get their knowledge out into the world. Please take a moment to rate the show and leave a quick review. When you do, we get to reach more people and we make a bigger impact together. Because when more people who help people succeed, the world becomes a better place. Thank you.